Walter Brennan won 3 Oscars and became America's favorite TV grandfather. But behind his warm smile was a terrifying secret. In the 1960s, he celebrated when civil rights leaders were murdered. He built underground bunkers and kept weapons. Even his own co-workers called him a bigot. He used his trusted voice to record propaganda for extremist groups. The man who played lovable characters was spreading hate and fear. What he did off-screen would shock millions of fans who trusted him. Walter Andrew Brennan was born on July 25, 1894 in Lynn, Massachusetts at a time when waves of Irish immigrants were arriving in New England. His parents were among the nearly 4 million Irish who had fled poverty and famine. His father was an engineer and inventor whose success was unusual in an era when Irish immigrants still faced open discrimination. The Brennan home was modest and sat less than 2 miles from the wealthy seaside community of Swampscott. Walter grew up surrounded by working-class neighbors but could see the world of wealth just over the horizon. This early exposure to 2 very different ways of life shaped how he later played characters from all walks of society. At Ring Technical High School in Cambridge, Brennan followed his father's path, at first excelling in mechanical systems and technical drawing. The school also had a progressive drama program, and despite being known for his engineering talents, he found himself drawn to the stage. His first role was as an elderly man when he was just 16, a choice that foreshadowed his long career playing older characters. His training in mechanics and drafting gave him an analytical way of thinking, and he began to approach acting like solving an engineering problem, breaking down a role into moving parts and figuring out how each piece fit. Classmates called him the professor because he could calculate lighting angles and sound placement for school plays. When the United States entered World War I, Brennan enlisted in the Army in 1917, joining the 101st Field Artillery Regiment. In late 1918, during the Meuse-Argonne offensive, he was exposed to mustard gas, one of the war's most feared weapons. Over 26,000 Americans were killed in that campaign, and Brennan was left with permanent damage to his vocal cords and lungs. The high, reedy tone of his voice was born from that injury. His fellow soldiers teased him for it, not knowing it would one day help win him 3 Oscars. The experience also left deeper scars. Survivors of mustard gas often battled lifelong respiratory issues and symptoms of what is now recognized as PTSD. After the war, Brennan moved to Guatemala to try his hand at pineapple farming. First, the venture looked promising. American investors were pouring money into Central American agriculture, hoping for massive returns. His farm sat in rich volcanic soil near the Pacific coast, and the profits in the early years were strong enough that he later joked he couldn't spend the money fast enough. But by 1922, disaster struck. Plant diseases destroyed crops. Political unrest shook the country, and a glut of tropical fruit in the U.S. market sent prices crashing. Brennan lost nearly everything and had to work aboard a merchant ship to earn his passage back home. That failure hardened his views on money. In later years, even as one of Hollywood's wealthiest actors, he kept a conservative, cautious approach to finances. By 1925, Brennan had moved to Los Angeles just as the city's real estate market was exploding. He made a fortune buying and selling undeveloped land, benefiting from property values that were sometimes doubling within months. He invested in areas that would later become prime Hollywood real estate. But the good times ended abruptly with the 1929 stock market crash. The real estate bubble burst, and Brennan lost everything. He slept in his car, ate at soup kitchens, and took any work he could find. In 1925, he began working as a film extra, appearing in small roles in films like Webs of Steel, The Calgary Stampede, and Lorraine of the Lions. His war-damaged voice and rugged appearance made him memorable, and director Richard Thorpe used him repeatedly for minor parts. Through the late 1920s and early 1930s, Brennan appeared in more than 20 films, some years working for multiple studios. He performed in westerns, comedies, and even horror films, including an uncredited role in Bride of Frankenstein in 1935. His versatility and work ethic made him one of Hollywood's most reliable character actors even before audiences knew his name. The turning point came in 1935 with Sam Goldwyn's The Wedding Night starring Gary Cooper. Brennan had been hired for a tiny uncredited role as a taxi driver, but his performance caught Goldwyn's eye and the part was expanded during filming. The expanded role earned him his first screen credit and a long-term contract with Goldwyn that led to a role in Howard Hawks' Barber Coast later that year. The film Brennan credited with setting him up in the industry. In 1936, Brennan played Swan Boston Ram in Come and Get It, a role that won him the very first Academy Award ever given for Best Supporting Actor. He portrayed Swan across decades of the character's life, from a young man to an aging widower, bringing warmth and depth to a role that could have been a stereotype. The win at age 42 made him a late blooming star and led to leading and co-starring roles in films like Affairs of Cappy Ricks and Wild and Woolly in 1937. In 1938, he was already well known. Yet, his role as Peter Goodwin in Kentucky almost never happened. He had been working without pause since Christmas of 1937 and was ready to step away. Exhaustion was setting in, but something pulled him back. He learned the rhythms of horse care by working with real thoroughbred ads for weeks. That dedication won him his second Oscar in 3 years and pushed 20th